ready to go and there will be no impact. I think our institution is well prepared to weather the budget cuts that will come. I use the analogy giving a talk out in eastern Colorado that like a good dryland grass will protect our root system. We may not be as pretty above the prairie for a while, but I think when the rains return, we'll have protected our critical elements and we'll be ready to grow back. And we will not, during our budget reductions or our growth, lose track of the quest for excellence. We have real areas of excellence within the university. We have a good plan and good people to execute it, and we will continue on that path to build on the excellence we already have. So we face serious challenges. We have good opportunities, but I would doubt, if you'll look back with me for a moment, I doubt that the challenges are any more severe, probably not as severe as those that faced Lincoln and Morrill and the other people who were involved in establishing land-grant universities. And as I think back on the things that have happened between 1861, when that legislation was signed, 1870, when Colorado State University was founded, and today, I want you to take a moment and think with me. What's the greatest change that's happened in our world over those nearly 150 years? Has it been in transportation, the automobile, the airplane, perhaps communication, radio, television, telephone, the internet? All of those have developed, as if on cue, my pocket begins to vibrate. All of those have developed during that time period. Maybe a field of medicine. Anesthesia was none too far along at the time land-grant universities were founded, and now we can do organ transplants, a variety of medical procedures. Antibiotics were invented. We broke the genetic code. We split the atom. Would it have been one of the economic theories are out of favor right now. Whatever that greatest change was that occurred in that 140 plus years, land-grant universities played a very, very active role in helping that change come about. And as I look across our campus and look at the way that we have overcome obstacles throughout that 140-year period and look at the accomplishments that have been made, I can't help, especially as I watch our students spill out onto the Laurie Student Center Plaza and look at the enthusiasm and the talent that they bring, I can't help but have a sense of optimism for the future despite the challenges that we face. And we would not, as an institution, we couldn't have that sense of optimism if it wasn't for the support that people like you and our partners, like all of you, help bring to our institution. So on behalf of the institution, its faculty, its staff, its students, its alumni, and indeed on behalf of the entire society that we as a public university exist to serve, I want to thank all of you, but I also want to ask you a favor. Of the challenges we face, I think none is a longer-term challenge than the issue of what it will mean to fund public higher education in America in the 21st century. There's a challenge right now about whether or not the state of Colorado, and most states who have large structural deficits, are going to be able to continue to fund public higher education. And I don't aim that in any way, shape, or form at our legislators. I think legislators across the country understand the importance of higher education in economic development, but they have no simple choices. Colorado is no exception. The tangle of constitutional amendments and statutory changes really tie the hands in very significant ways of our elected officials. And I think as they look at ways to balance their budget, and we all want them to balance that budget, they wind up focusing on the fact that of the three discretionary areas, the three large discretionary areas within the budget, corrections, human services, and higher education, the one that has both its own revenue stream and arguably the least political impact to taking cuts is in fact higher education. Well, I've talked a bit about how we may deal with cuts in the short term, and that's not the focus that I want to have when I ask you this favor. The focus that I want to have is on the longer term. I think we have a question coming up over the next 1 to 2 decades in this country, and it's a fairly simple question. Do we want to privatize public higher education? My personal opinion is that that is bad public policy. I think public higher education has served this nation very, very well for nearly a century and a half. And I think there's some evidence out there that it is a great model, because two of the most rapidly expanding economies in the history of the world, China and India, are copying our system and pouring unprecedented sums of money into their systems as they copy it. But it's a fair question. If we are not going to give up on the idea that says when we all chip in a little bit to help create public higher education access, we all get far more back than we chip in. If we're not going to give up on that idea, then we owe it to our elected officials to help give them choices. Because right now, as they sit in our Capitol and they debate laws and issues and face the tough challenges that they face, we haven't given them any choices. Their hands are very much tied. And so the favor I have to ask of all of you, and I'm not in a good position to ask a favor of any of you, it's awkward as a guest to arrive late and then ask for favors. But if you'll indulge me, I'll do one anyway. And that is simply to think hard about this issue and to get involved in it, to talk with other people, to read what you can about it, to get engaged in discussions. Because granted, I am an absolute unabashed advocate and a beneficiary of America's public higher education. But I can't think of many strategic questions that will face our nation over the next 1 to 2 decades that will be more important a century from now than whether or not we figured out a way to fund public higher education, or whether we ended that experiment that was started during the Civil War and said, you know, no, actually, we need to privatize that. And we'll need all of your help, and indeed everyone's help, to have that conversation, come up with some solutions, and give our elected officials some good choices. With that, again, I'll give you my thanks for the opportunity to come down and talk about something that I dearly love, Colorado State University, and I would be deeply appreciative if none of you would repeat the cat story. That would be great.